So before we continue, I want to let you know those videos we made them just to share with you the knowledge or what we learned from installing and removing parts. So I want you to subscribe to the channel right now. Click on the bell notification to get all the videos on time and leave your question. We're gonna respond to them just after this video. So how we're gonna work on.
Alrighty, now that we have the vehicle up, we are going to release the drain bolt underneath the radiator. Until coolant begins to come out of it. Make sure you have a drain pan underneath to catch all the coolant that's coming out of it, so that you can dispose of it properly. While you're bringing the vehicle back down, right now is a good opportunity to take off the front wheels. I'm doing it on a lift, so it's easier for me to just take off the front wheels, have the vehicle at an incline, so I don't have to bend my back too much over the vehicle or jump over it too much. So the next thing we're going to do, we're going to remove the reservoir cap for the power steering pump. And then we're going to continue by vacuuming all the fluid out of the reservoir. Alright, so once we were able to get the clip off, now we're going to remove the hose. Okay, once we remove the hose, we're going to put this, I've already put this protective boot on to prevent a lot of leakage from the power steering pump while we have it unhooked. So now the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to release the tension off the power steering pump by loosening this 12 millimeters bolt right here and the 12 millimeter nut at the bottom. It's kind of very hard to see. There's a 12 millimeter nut at the bottom of the power steering pump, and then we're going to loosen this nut right here on top. Alright, so after loosening up the bolt right here in the nut underneath the power steering pump, we're going to loosen the nut that holds tension on it. Alright, now once we've did that, now we are going to remove this belt, and now we're going to completely remove the power steering pump by loosening up the 12s all the way. And also there's a 10 millimeter bolt back here that holds the high pressure hose. There's a bracket right here. We're gonna remove that 10 millimeter bolt in order to put the power steering pump aside without having to remove the high pressure hose. Alright, so after fully removing the water pump, we have going to go ahead and start removing the top timing covers, and for each of them there's 5 bolts, two on either sides of them, and then one directly in the middle. All of them will be 10mm bolts. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and I'll get right back with you guys once I have them off. So after removing the front covers, I'm going to go ahead and remove the side engine mount, and the bracket. I'm going to remove it with the whole bracket as a whole. So that would be 5 14 bolts. Once I go ahead and do that, I'll get back and we'll continue. Alright, so after removing the engine mount, the next step now is to remove the drive belt by loosening up the belt tensioner. Loosening up the belt tensioner, we're going to get this drive belt out of the way. Then we're going to set the timing to top dead center. And after we set the timing to top dead center, we're going to remove the crank pulley in order to remove the bottom front cover. So the bottom half of the front cover, in order so we can remove it. Alright, so after removing the covers, I lined up the timing. The number 1, you line up the number 1 to this back slot right here. Same thing with this side. I also put some white out just as a precaution. And then I removed the crankshaft pulley in order to have access to the bolts to remove this second half. Now, when you have the task to take off the crankshaft pulley, you're going to want this to purchase this special tool right here. And how it works is it goes on the crank pulley like so, and you will need two breaker bars like so in order to get it off. So you would put one end of the breaker bar at the end of this pulley remover, and you would put another breaker bar on the 19mm bolt, and in order to crack the bolt loose, and then you would have access to the bottom half of the timing cover to take it off. So once we've gotten that taken off, we'll return and resume. So while we're trying to take off the bottom half cover of the timing belt, make sure that you remove the 10mm bolt that holds the oil dipstick. And it is possible to remove that bolt without removing the tensioner. And once that's removed, you can have access to the remainder of the bolts surrounding the bottom half of the timing cover. So once the oil dipstick has been removed, you will have access to this 10mm bolt that is hiding behind the dipstick in order to remove the front cover. Alright, now we're now we've taken off the bottom half of the front cover. Now we're going to get ready to remove this bracket right here that the engine mount comes in bolt to. I believe we have 3 14mm bolts. So we have one 14mm bolt in here, another 14mm bolt in here, and then one 14mm bolt that is hiding right there underneath. Alright. So once we've removed those, we'll continue. Alright, so now we've taken off the bottom cover, we've taken off the bracket on top, and we are making sure that our crank pulley is aligned. There should be a triangle on the crank sprocket, on one of the grooves of the crank sprocket, and it should match up with the other triangle that's on the block itself, and that will verify that our timing is together. We check our timing back again at the top, and that is also still good. So now what we are going to do, we are going to release the tensioner. We're going to release the tensioner down here, and we have 2 bolts. We have this 110 bolt up here, and then right below the tensioner we have yet another 10 bolt down there. So what I'm going to do is, first I'm going to loosen this top 10 bolt. I'm not going to take it out all the way, just loosen it ever so slightly, and then I'm going to remove the bottom 10 bolt all the way, and that should allow the tensioner to release. Alright, so once we've removed the tensioner, now we're ready to pull the belt out. So we're removing it from the crank pulley. Move it from the crank pulley, and then the remainder of the parts as well. Alright, so now the belt is almost completely off. Move it from here, from there. So our belt is out. Now we're going to remove the water pump. And to remove this water pump, what we're going to need to do, I believe we have approximately 8 or 10 bolts. So we're going to remove this pulley that the tensioner that applies tension to the belt, and then we're going to remove all the 10mm bolts around the pulley in order to remove it. So this bolt right here, I believe it's a 12mm bolt, and it's kind of a long bolt. So once we've gotten that done and we have the water pump out, we'll be back in a few. So after removing the 5 10 bolts, it was not 8 10 bolts. After removing the 5 10 bolts that hold the water pump, we have successfully removed the water pump and installed the new one. Installed all the bolts, tightened them down, and now we are putting back the idler pulleys and the tensioner pulley, and then we will start putting the belt together and take you on that journey with us as we continue. Alright, so as I'm getting ready to put the belt on, just want to mention the orientation that the belt is going to be put in. So once I've put the belt on the crank pulley, all of the tension is going to be on this side, and all the slack is going to be on that side. Sorry, my light keeps dying on me here. All the slack is going to be on this side. Alright, so after putting the water pump, the timing belt, now it's time to put everything back together in reverse of how they came out. So first we're putting the timing cover back on. So